from the 25. Roethlisberger pulls it back, throws, has Juju Smith-Schuster. What a start to the night. One play, bang, touchdown
Steelers. The Eagles take over at the 17. Foles steps up. Foles delivers. Deep one-on-one. It's caught. Aguilar. Bye-bye. Touchdown. Eagles.
Steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs. Sideline.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another weekly episode of the Heated Sports Podcast. Again, my name's Justin Imler. Across from me, I have Kevin Eagleson. And we're just going to kind of get right into it because we have week 1 in the books now, so we actually have some NFL football to talk about in the books. But we're kind of going to get started with Mr. Big Chest, Antonio Brown. Still in the news for pretty much all the wrong reasons, but switching teams without even actually playing a legitimate down with his other new team, the Oakland Raiders. Transferring teams, pretty much forcing his way out of Oakland. Now he's with the New England Patriots, and that pretty much just completely broke the internet for that day and a half. Really didn't take too long. I mean, it was kind of reported that several teams were interested in Brown once he got released by Oakland, and I think it was maybe an hour, 2 hours later, we got official news that New England was going to sign Antonio Brown on a 1-year deal. And, I mean, this is kind of crazy. I mean, a lot of speculations are now rising. People are kind of trying to figure out, was this the plan all along? After forcing his way out of Pittsburgh, people are speculating that Antonio Brown maybe quickly realized that this Oakland situation wasn't going to work, whether it's with Derek Carr, whether it's relationship with Gruden, the head coach, Mike Mayock, the GM. Either way, people are kind of being very speculative. I really don't know if that's the case. I think he actually maybe planned on playing in Oakland at some point, but I mean, he's posting just random YouTube videos, conversations he's having with his head coach, and then when he gets the call from Drew Rosenhaus's agent that he is officially released, he's looking extremely excited that he's finally out of Oakland and kind of basically getting to choose his own team for the future of his career. But what was your take, one, on just all the Oakland situation, the kind of just unfolding, and then the initial signing with New England then afterwards?
All right, yeah, I'll start off from an NFL standpoint. The New England signing, it's unfair. We saw what they just did to your Steelers.
Yeah, like, I mean, I didn't even get into there. Like, I mean, if AB ends up playing this whole season, like, this team is, like, spoiler alert with the new power rankings, like, they're the clear number 1, I think, after week 1. Like, it's going to be very scary for everybody.
They just they traded Demaryius Thomas to the Jets. They don't even need him anymore. They're stacked. Their defense is the best Patriots defense I've ever watched. Their offense, Tom Brady has more weapons than he's ever had. They're winning the AFC. They're winning the Super Bowl, unless something drastic happens. So from an NFL standpoint, the best team gets better. From the Antonio Brown standpoint, I don't really want to talk about it anymore. Like, I'm sick of hearing about Antonio Brown. But to be honest, the guy's won. I feel like he's gotten everything he wanted when he left Pittsburgh. To me, I felt like he just wanted to be the guy. He wanted the fame. He wanted everything. He wasn't that in Pittsburgh. He was overshadowed. He had Le'Veon Bell there. He wasn't even the team MVP in his final
even
season.
like Juju kind of taking some of that fame away, winning the team MVP, seemed to be kind of like the last straw of sorts.
Yeah.
Like, when that kind of broke out, I think it was only like a day or two later where it just kind of started unraveling, and then the comments were made, the shots at Ben, the shots at the organization were made afterwards. And then even, like, specifically coming at Juju on social media, like a fan basically trolling one of his tweets with an image of, like, Juju Smith-Schuster, team MVP. And then he goes off on Twitter, coming at Juju, coming at the organization some more. So, I mean, it definitely seems like that was the tipping point.
Yeah, he gets out of Pittsburgh and he moves to Oakland where he's paid and he's the guy. He's in the news every single day. So much drama. And I feel like he got everything that he wanted there. And then he realized he wasn't going to win. So after he becomes probably the most talked about football player of the offseason, just an incredibly kind of polarizing guy. People hate him. People love him. I feel like most people hate him now. But still, he was in the news. He was a star. He was what he wanted. But now he just moves on and joins a winning team. So he gets a little bit of everything. He gets to join the best team, and he still gets to be the most talked about player from, I don't know, the last probably 6 months.
Yeah, I was going to say, definitely for, like, a majority of the offseason, like, in terms of, like, current NFL players in the media. But, I mean, just looking at it, like, from his, like, just taking like the storyline of events that's happened in the last couple months. It kind of started with the frostbitten feet, right? It's like Antonio Brown reports he's not practicing, not going to play in the preseason. Cryotherapy chamber in France, doesn't wear any footwear accidentally, and next thing you know, his feet are frostbitten, he can't practice on them. Then news breaks out, apparently he's been filing grievances with the NFL because he wants to wear his old helmet. Even though the NFL deemed they're not safe, every single player needs to wear these new helmets. No, I don't want to do that, give me my old helmet. And he files 3 separate grievances, all of which there's exactly 0% chance he's going to win, but that takes up even more time. And then we find out that he's skipping practices, and he's skipping team meetings, and he's skipping all these important off-season events with Oakland to work on this helmet issue, get this stuff figured out. And like, that's obviously not the case. And then the fines roll in, for which I think anybody can agree is understandable. Like, you signed the contract to be here for these practices, these games, these meetings, and if you're simply just not there with most likely very minimal communication, there's going to be consequences. And those consequences, obviously, with not being in the season yet, those consequences are going to be monetary. And I mean, that's what ended up happening. And then he actually gets the letter for the fines. AB goes right to Instagram, posts a picture of the letter, says that Raiders are haters, and then he pretty much ends up almost fist fighting Mike Mayock. Still not a lot of details surrounding that, but I'm not going to use the terminology that he reportedly used at Mike Mayock, but that's a quick Google search away if you guys want to see that. But like, this is just inexcusable behavior. And like you said, at the end of the day, he's being rewarded for this inexcusable behavior by ultimately getting cut by Oakland, which seems like I said, at the end of the day was most likely his goal. And now he's on one of the most stacked football teams we've seen in recent years. So definitely, whether you love him or hate him, I mean, most people, like you said, most people outside of New England hate him, but he's going to win this season. They're most likely going to win the AFC. I would most likely put them in my Super Bowl conversation now with this move after seeing what this team did to my Pittsburgh Steelers, like you already mentioned. Don't need to go over that anymore right now. I'm still recovering. But yeah, like, it's just, he's the clear villain of the NFL. I think he's embraced that role, and he really just doesn't care. He's most likely going to get a Super Bowl ring, barring any unforeseen changes. But at the end of the day, it's just really unfortunate. It's frustrating for me as a Steelers fan, seeing what he was to what he's become in this last 6-8 months of the offseason. And yeah, it's going to be really weird. But I'll kind of bring up like some breaking news that we saw literally like 20 minutes before we started recording this here today. Reports coming out that Antonio Brown is now being sued for allegations of sexual assault and rape, which is really obviously a sensitive subject. I'm not going to go into it too much without having some hard-hitting like actual evidence and like facts behind it. But
literally dropped 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, like the Antonio Brown saga continues and clearly isn't going away anytime soon. So we'll see if he actually suits up for week 2. Wasn't able to suit up week 1 against Pittsburgh. They clearly didn't need him. It would have been even more embarrassing for Pittsburgh if he was on the field dominating like they did. But yeah, that's really all I have to say.
It's
anything
interesting.
else to touch on?
I really thought as soon as he joined the Patriots, he was going to turn into a Patriot. He was going to follow the Patriot way.
Yeah.
And just turn into a model citizen, a model NFL player. But this, right off the bat, it could be kind of detrimental to.
Yeah, I mean, he's been clean so far on social media. I haven't like been stalking his Instagram or Twitter or anything, but I really haven't seen anything of any posts. I follow a lot of Steelers accounts, so they usually do that up to date AB news for me, but I really haven't seen any posts, any AB like Instagram stories, Instagram posts or anything. So it seemed like he was maybe kind of following in that Belichick Brady like Patriot way, and then yeah, now the sexual assault allegations, the rape allegations are coming, all happening in the past. So not like they were like they recently happened. It sounds like they're all in the past, in his college days or like in his days in Pittsburgh with some of his former trainers. But either way, news coming to light now, so we'll kind of have to wait and see how that's all going to play out.
Yeah.
Statement made right away by Antonio Brown and his legal party denying all allegations. Again, that's really all the details I'm going to give because that's all the details I have to give at the moment, but we'll kind of have to see how that plays out and if he even suits up week 2 now for New England against Miami.
Not that it matters.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, hey, they do for some reason struggle in Miami every single year, but yeah, I mean, this year I don't think anybody's picking Miami after what we saw last week, which is a good segue to actually get into week 1 of the NFL season. So I'm excited to go over some scores here. Obviously not going to go over every single game, but we can touch on some highlights. First things first, so we were both kind of hyping up the Packers a lot in our preseason rankings last episode, kind of going through everything. But And yeah, they ended up taking the win on Thursday Night Football against the Bears. Were you shocked by this at all in Chicago? Both defenses looked ridiculous, but I mean, Mr. Trubisky, I had some hope for him kind of going into this season, maybe taking a step forward, but if anything, definitely looked like he took a step back on Thursday night.
This was a shocking game to me. The entire offseason, I've said it more than anyone, I thought Trubisky was ready to take that next step, because that's all the Bears need is just high-level quarterback play, and they'll be unstoppable, but he didn't go up. He went down. He looked awful. I'm sure he'll get better as the season goes on. There's no way he can keep up playing this bad, but I was shocked, and of course, in turn, it just made the entire Bears offense terrible. I was ready for the David Montgomery breakout. That didn't happen, partially because the offense sucked, partially because of the other running backs.
Yeah, no, I'm going to jump in there. I mean, everybody just kind of relaxed with David Montgomery. I've had a lot of my friends come at me who I've been hyping up David Montgomery to in the offseason, kind of just freaking out. There's really no need to freak out. I've said it 100 times. I don't think he's going to be a breakout clear starter right away. Yeah. I definitely think as this offense gets more attuned and everything kind of gets adjusted, I think he'll be more and more involved in the offense. Mike Davis kind of concerned me a little bit. Former Seattle backup, kind of getting a lot of touches in week 1, so that surprised me a little bit. Really don't understand it. I think, especially after their lackluster offensive performance on Thursday, they'll start getting Montgomery more touches in the offense, so I'd give it at least a couple more weeks before anybody starts freaking out.
It was really interesting. Tariq Cohen, to me, was one of the biggest threats to Montgomery. He ran the ball, I don't know, maybe like a max of 3 times.
No, they had him in the slot. They had him in the slot
almost every single play, which I thought was really interesting. And I think it's a good move by the Bears. They're utilizing him pretty well.
Yeah.
He got a lot of action there. But moving on to the Packers, that defense looks legit.
That defense looks very impressive.
I predicted them to be in the Super Bowl in our last episode, and so far that pick is looking really good because you have probably the best quarterback in the league and match that with a great defense. Dangerous things.
I'll say it's going to be dangerous. I mean, only putting up 10 points, but I mean, that Bears defense clearly isn't going anywhere. Like, they made some plays. Khalil Mack was a force all over the field. Very exciting things. Like I said, I had in my predictions, like season predictions, I had high hopes for both of these teams, had both of them making the postseason. So I'm very excited. I liked what I saw, but I mean, yeah, Trubisky's definitely going to have to step up if this Chicago team wants to make another run in the playoffs this year.
Trubisky, he's literally the new Blake Bortles. Like, Blake Bortles got traded off to the Rams. He's kind of irrelevant now. He's a backup. And Trubisky's taken over. He's going to be that guy that has, well, obviously the best defense in the league. They have almost everything they need on that team except for the quarterback, and he's just going to make what should be a playoff team subpar.
Yeah.
And he's literally taken over in that Blake Bortles role. I think it's a little bit funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a shame to see if that defense would end up going to waste just with how talented they are. But we'll transition here. So another surprising game I'm going to transition to here. Tennessee blowing out Cleveland in their home opener. Obviously, probably the team that had the most hype going into the 2019-2020 season was the Cleveland Browns. Pretty much laying an egg in week 1 at home against the Tennessee Titans. A game that most people probably pick Cleveland to win. I mean, no knock on Tennessee, but I mean, with all the hype around Cleveland, I pick Cleveland to win. Real quick, are you more impressed with Tennessee or are you more disappointed in Cleveland? Or maybe a little bit of both?
More impressed with Tennessee. I wasn't expecting a lot from Cleveland out of the gate. I picked this as my upset of the week just because they're such a new team, all these pieces coming together. It's going to take a little bit for the chemistry to be there, the new head coach and everything. But the Titans, I'm really impressed with. I think it was more so the Titans playing really well than the Browns disappointing. Their defense looked really good.
Yeah.
And Mariota, for one of the few times I've watched him in the NFL, looked like a real starting quarterback, a franchise guy. He had a great game. Don't forget about Derrick Henry. He was putting up insane amounts of yards. And just overall, the entire team looked balanced. They looked great. A.J. Brown, the rookie, looked amazing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it seemed like what they wanted Corey Davis to be. A.J. Brown is now. He's going to take over in that role.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be like a good 1-2 punch, I think. I'm not knocking on Corey Davis. I think with Mariota playing, I'd say below average the last couple years. Corey Davis has still shined a little bit. But, I mean, that's definitely a good 1-2 punch to have at wide receiver. But, yeah, I mean, I love Mike Vrabel as a coach. I've been kind of preaching this on the side the last several years. Mariota has kind of just been the big question mark. But I think, I mean, if he plays well or at least plays to not lose football games, pound the ball with Derrick Henry, if that defense plays like they did last Sunday, I mean, that's going to be a very interesting team in the AFC.
Yeah, I think the AFC South, I mean, it's up for grabs now, obviously, with Andrew Luck retiring, and the Titans, they're looking like they want it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I like the Texans. I hyped them a lot last episode. I still would probably pick the Texans, even though they had a very disappointing loss to the Saints. But that Deshaun Watson looked amazing, but I'll touch on him a little bit later.
Quick X factor. They do have Ryan Tannehill as backup, so if Mariota gets hurt or even just is starting to play bad, I think Tannehill
Throw
can
Tannehill in the
starting
mix.
to be that starting quarterback and win them some games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he got a fair shot in Miami. I mean, those teams were subpar at best. I mean, when he was over there, Adam Gase really didn't have a handle on the team at the time. But yeah, that's a good point, because I really didn't think of that or really put that one together.
This
but
could be a potential X factor.
Yeah, down the road maybe. But another team that I was really impressed with week 1 was the Minnesota Vikings. I liked Atlanta a lot, and they shut Atlanta down. That stellar offense, they shut Devontae Freeman down completely for the Atlanta's run game. But on the offensive side of the ball for Minnesota, they stayed true to what they said they were going to do. They pounded the crap out of the ball with Dalvin Cook, and he looked amazing. Like, he looked like his rookie year Dalvin Cook in 2017 before he ended up getting injured, just completely running all over the field. Utilizing his weapons, I think Cousins and Thielen made a connection early in the game as well. So having that 1-2 punch at receiver in Thielen and Diggs, and then just running the ball with Dalvin Cook, if he plays like he has been, I think Minnesota might have been slept on by a lot of people, including myself. But Minnesota looked dangerous on Sunday. Yeah,
I'm impressed with the Vikings. Not a ton to say there, but I think they're just going to get better as the season goes on with that above-average defense and the insane run game. That's a recipe to win in the NFL. So
yeah,
they could be a dangerous team in the NFC.
Yeah. So transferring over here again, I'll go to your Ravens a little bit, because I want to get your take. I'll give my 2 cents. The Ravens completely obliterating the Miami Dolphins. Just complete bloodbath almost. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous. Lamar Jackson throwing the ball all over the field. Don't think many people expected that out of the gate, but connecting with Marquise Brown, first-round pick out of Oklahoma, wide receiver, for 2 big touchdown catches. I mean, you had to have been excited. Like, what was your reaction seeing Lamar Jackson sling it like that against Miami?
This is probably the best day of my life, to be honest. Like, I loved every second of it. I couldn't take my eyes off the TV, even when it was 50-10. I was still watching it every single second. I love it. Like, people doubted Lamar all off season, and I just love him as a person. I think he's such a humble guy. To watch him just ball out week 1 and just shut everyone up.
Not too bad for a running back.
I was just happy for him first and foremost. And then Marquise Brown, possibly my new favorite player in the world. In my lifetime, I've never seen the Ravens draft a good receiver, and it looks like they might have finally hit, which is something that I'm so excited for.
Yeah.
Just to watch him develop with Lamar Jackson, it's going to be great. Mark Ingram, the new guy, he looked awesome too. That running game is going to be insane.
It's going to be
Best in the
nuts.
NFL for sure.
Yeah, and I mean,
all of them look good.
Yeah, no, like all around, like, that was a ridiculous performance. I mean, anytime you put up 59 points, they didn't shut out Miami, but held them to 10 points, mostly like garbage time points in the second half.
Earl Thomas got a pick too.
Yeah, like Miami,
everyone showed up.
Yeah, like Baltimore was an overall team performance highlighted by Lamar Jackson throwing the football. I'll say one thing, and I'm not going to be like a Baltimore hater or anything. I love like what I saw out of Lamar Jackson, but the defense they played, I think, was comparable to like a high school JV defense. Like, I don't think they actually really. I don't think people should overreact. I think he deserves the praise and he deserves the hype. Like, they definitely played their butts off on Sunday, but I want to see like some more like actual competition in terms of like on the defensive side of the ball. Teams that actually come to play, because I mean, we saw what happened with Miami. Half the team is requesting a trade after that like horrible performance on both sides of the ball on Sunday. So I mean, Miami definitely really isn't where they want to be. So I'd be curious to see if Lamar can keep this going into some tougher matchups here later on in the season. But definitely a scary team to watch out for. Another team in the AFC that maybe people weren't actually like looking at to be a potential threat. But if Lamar Jackson continues this stride going forward, I mean, that's going to be a tough team.
Yeah, agreed. We're not going to be seeing this every single week. A perfect passer rating, 3 incompletions, 5 touchdowns, but just shows a lot of promise. He's obviously developed a lot over this season. And the Dolphins, I mean, people are obviously, they're kind of knocking them, saying they're terrible, they weren't trying. They're an NFL team, and people still, if you're on a roster, you're an NFL player, it's your job.
Yeah.
You go to your job and you play hard. So they're the worst team. I don't think there's any arguing that, but a win's a win, and to me, it's impressive no matter what. We'll see. Next week they play the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots are going to score 59 on the Dolphins. So to me, it's still impressive what they were able to do.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I'm not knocking anybody or knocking the team's performance at all there, but like I'm never one to jump on the hype train right away. Like, I like to see consistency. That's always kind of been one of my pet peeves in the NFL. So yeah, I mean, show me a couple more weeks of that. I mean, I think I'll be the first to say that Lamar Jackson's going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure. So I'm just going to keep kind of going through the games from week 1. Again, not going to hit all of them, but another one I want to touch on. What was your thoughts on Kyler Murray week 1? Had about as bad of a first half as you probably could have, but leading the team all the way back to end up ultimately tying the game against the Lions in overtime. Have any thoughts on Kyler Murray? Excited to kind of see what he can do? Or I mean, I've been a big Kyler Murray fan, but I want to get your take on kind of how he played in the end of week 1.
I didn't watch as much of this game as I would have liked. I saw all the overtime after the Ravens game ended. So from what I saw from Kyler Murray was good play. I didn't see any of the bad part. He looked amazing throwing it to Fitzgerald. He was kind of moving around in the pocket. And yeah, he looked promising. Ravens get to play him next week, so I'll get an even better idea of what to expect from him when I get to watch that entire game.
Yeah, that'll be like the battle of like young dual threat quarterbacks for sure, and Kyler and Lamar Jackson running and passing the ball with pretty good efficiency, I would say, in both of their showings last week.
But yeah, this game in general, I think it just kind of confirmed what I already believed. The Cardinals, they have their guy now, and he's going to be their franchise guy.
Yeah.
He started off, I mean, he's done enough. I think he's going to be a real good quarterback in the league moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely worried. That first half was terrible.
It
was probably about as bad of a half for your debut that you could have had, but he definitely turned things around. I follow some Cardinals fans on Twitter. They were kind of all panicking, rightfully so. I would have been right there with them, but he definitely turned things around. It's a shame that the game ended in a tie, but ultimately, I think Cardinals fans have a team to be excited for still. Again, probably not this year, but I still think this team will win some games once everything gets going and they all get used to the NFL and kind of get accustomed with one another with the new coaching staff, new quarterback, all that good stuff. But
you got to change the overtime rules.
Yeah.
I don't like the ties.
Nope. Ties are very annoying, and everybody talks about it every time one happens.
Lions?
Definitely frustrating. I mean, give me some college overtime. Just give me like some rapid fire just shotgun offense right at the start at the 20, move your way back. Don't even need fantasy points in there. Have fantasy points end at regulation and then just change the overtime format. Don't really think it's that difficult, but that's just me.
Before we move off this game, it is worth mentioning Lions were one of the teams I was lowest on moving into the season, but I think they showed a lot of promise too. They were going against the Cardinals, the worst team from last season. But I think Stafford looked great. TJ Hawkinson, the rookie.
Amazing.
I mean, he had the best rookie performance for a tight end ever. Even Amendola was getting in the mix. Just that offense looked good. So the Lions I might have slept on a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
before this week.
Yeah, I mean, Kerryon Johnson kind of concerns me a little bit from a fantasy perspective because I have him in one of my main leagues. He really didn't do too much for me, but I'm hoping he kind of gets more involved as the season goes on. Obviously, they use CJ Anderson a little more than I thought they would in the running game. They signed him as a backup in the offseason, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, definitely something to kind of keep an eye on. So another game I'm going to transition to, not really going to go too much of it because, like I said, I'm still in recovery mode from last Sunday night. Pittsburgh getting completely embarrassed by New England. There's really no two ways about it. I had a small percent of hope for this game as a Steelers fan. I'm in a pick'em league. I still pick New England to win. I don't think that was really a tough decision for myself, but I was hoping it'd at least be a game. Pittsburgh would show up, silence some of the haters saying that AB and Le'Veon are gone now. What are they going to do? But, I mean, it's clear that they don't match up with New England well whatsoever. Mike Tomlin completely got outcoached, and I'll be the first to say that I haven't been a fan of Mike Tomlin in recent years. I kind of said this was his make or break year for me specifically. I haven't been a fan of him in the past, but this year now, the distraction excuse, the diva players excuse is out the window. This is his team now, make or break, and he went up against one of the greats again, had months to prepare for New England, knew they were coming week 1. And just completely looked like a lost dog out there. Like, it was terrible. The play calling was extremely frustrating. The offense just looked lost. I mean, Ben hit some decent throws down the stretch. A lot of drops. That really didn't help anything. Dante Moncrief getting several drops in there. Really not impressing anybody, being the new wide receiver too. So we might see some changes coming there. But overall, I'll kind of be preaching the same narrative. I'm not hitting the panic button on Pittsburgh just yet.
Definitely not.
It's pretty clear that they just never match up with New England well. They did end up beating them last year. That was in Heinz Field late in the season, though. Going into Foxborough, they just simply don't match up well, and most Steelers fans should have already realized that by now. I'm not sleeping on Pittsburgh. I had them at 11-5, 10-6 with losing this game. their schedule isn't really that tough in the second half of the season. So they have Seattle coming to Heinz Field this week. I expect them to bounce back, and I think that'll be a good game, but I could definitely see Pittsburgh taking that one at home this coming Sunday.
Yeah, definitely didn't see this one coming in this game for me. I had the Steelers actually winning.
Oh,
I
you
thought
did?
they
Yeah.
would. Yeah.
Had the upset there.
But I just had no idea how good this Patriots defense was.
And that's what I think. Like, New England's defense is always ridiculous, but Belichick's even made comments in the offseason that this is the youngest and most talented defense that he's had in his coaching career.
Like I said earlier, best Patriots defense I've ever seen in my life. They took away Juju. They took away James Conner. And the Steelers honestly looked like they needed a guy like Antonio Brown to win this game, put up 3 points total. If I'm the Steelers, I'm a little bit nervous because week 1 you saw the Ravens. Obviously, you know what they did. The Bengals looked a lot better than expected, and you still have the Browns, an insanely good roster. So that division is going to be so competitive. Yeah. And losing one game like this, it could come back to haunt you late in the season just because I think it's going to be so close.
I mean, it is nice, and I wanted to touch on this real quick before we move on, that the whole AFC North plays the AFC South this year. So each team in the AFC North is getting New England. Not saying that New England's definitely going to beat all those teams, but that's kind of a game that everybody in the division is going to face. And every team except for Baltimore won this week. Lost this week. So still everybody except for Baltimore is still kind of on an even playing field. So that makes me feel better. If Cleveland would have won and Cincinnati somehow would have won, definitely would have kind of been a little more nervous. But
Cincinnati almost pulled it off.
Yeah, I'll say they almost pulled it off in the end. But I'm still comfortable with the position. It's just one game. I'm trying to stress that to people, but give me a couple more games, a couple more shaky performances. I'll definitely be a lot more nervous down the stretch.
Steelers will be back.
Yeah. So real quick, 2 Monday night games. I'll give you the floor if you want to touch on either of them. The Saints, Drew Brees working his magic, 58-yard field goal by Will Lutz as time expires to win that one and at the end of regulation. And then Oakland kind of shocking a lot of people. The Antonio Brownless Oakland Raiders really kind of dominating most of the game against the Broncos. Derek Carr looked great. Terrell Williams was making some solid catches. Anything to say there?
Yeah, I really think the only game worth talking about is the Texans and Saints, which is one of the better games that I remember seeing in recent history. The Raiders, it was an impressive win, but I don't think the Broncos are going to be all that. But yeah, Deshaun Watson looked so great in that game. He was getting the offensive line still hasn't they don't have that chemistry at all.
The offensive line needs to protect the crap out of him.
They were letting guys through all night.
He's not going to make it. He's not going to make it through the whole season if they don't protect him.
Like he barely made it through this game.
Yeah, he took way too many hits. It just did not look good. And he's a skinny dude. Like he's not a Cam Newton type quarterback. Like he's tall, but he's a small quarterback. He's a very skinny, very agile quarterback. He needs to be protected, or he needs to just learn to throw the ball away because he can't do what he's doing and expect to make it through the whole season.
Yeah, he had defenders in his face all game, but he was just throwing absolute dots to DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller downfield. It was really impressive to watch. I realized in this game that Deshaun Watson is great. I always knew he was a good quarterback, but here I realized this guy is legitimate. He outplayed Drew Brees, in my opinion, in this game. And I think if he's able to stay healthy, if they're able to give him that offensive line to keep him on his feet, he could be one of the better quarterbacks of our generation when it's all said and done. This guy's incredible.
No, I mean, I'm not denying that. I mean, he definitely showed people that he deserves to be in like that type of conversation, at least in terms of the current NFL. But yeah, I mean, the Saints being my Super Bowl pick before the season started, showing me why Drew Brees still has it. Obviously, 56 seconds left on the clock, getting him down the field for a chance to win the football game.
Texas defense blew it.
Yeah, so I mean, the Saints ended up pulling it out in the end. Still one of my favorite matchups, but that's where we'll leave it there. So yeah, I mean, just let us know where you guys are at, how your guys' team did first of all. If you guys have any concerns or anything you guys would want us to touch on next time. We're just gonna kind of preview week 2 now here a little bit, just go over a couple games, but we'll make a transition here. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back to go over week 2 a little bit. All right, guys, so we're back now. Again, just going to take a few minutes and preview some matchups here coming up for week 2. So, yeah, give me a couple matchups you got picked out. What do you think?
I'm going to start off with our Thursday night game. We have a divisional matchup with the Buccaneers and the Panthers. To me, this is big because the Buccaneers were a team a lot of people were kind of expecting to break out this year and be better than they have in the past with Bruce Arians joining that team. Jameis Winston was expected to take the next step, and he looked atrocious in week 1. Mike Evans was basically nullified. Jameis couldn't even get the ball to him. No one on their offense was catching balls. I think Jameis threw 2 pick sixes, and he looked like the worst quarterback in the league, to be honest.
It was definitely ugly. I had high hopes for them as well. Clearly didn't work out that way. Yeah.
Cam Newton too. I don't think he even threw a touchdown in the game against the Rams. Could be wrong though. But yeah, Cam Newton didn't look the best. So to me, this is a game between two potentially above average good quarterbacks in this league that need to redeem themselves week 2. So to me, it's big for that reason. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be exciting. I think we see a bounce back from one or both of these guys.
Yeah. You got another one here for me too? Any other matchups you were kind of had your eye on or excited for?
I'll go to another divisional matchup. I want to go to the Ravens and Cardinals, but I'm just going to leave it out for this one because I don't think it's going to be too close.
No, yeah, I mean, I would definitely, especially in Baltimore, I would definitely be fine picking Baltimore for that one.
Yeah, so one that I think will be a little bit more interesting, two teams that I'm curious about. We have the Colts and the Titans.
That's a good one. I was literally just looking at that one.
AFC South. Jacoby Brissett looked really good against the Chargers. They nearly pulled off an overtime victory, and the Titans, as we mentioned before, they stomped on the Browns. So
I want to see if they can put that together again, like Tennessee. I want to see if they can do it.
Both the teams, it'll be interesting to see if they can pick up where they left off week 1. The Colts with their offensive success, and the Titans just pretty much looking great all around. We have another chance to see both these teams in action. And Brissett, the backup quarterback, I'm really interested to see how he plays out this season.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's another good matchup. So I'm going to touch on 2 here real quick. Saints-Rams. I mean, that's like clearly going to be my favorite game. I'm a Steelers fan. I'm excited for the Steelers game, but I mean, Saints-Rams, NFC Championship rematch. Give me that every single week, please. I'm very excited for these two offenses to go at it again. Curious to see how they use Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was not used nearly as much as I expected him to be, especially since Sean McVay literally came out and said that he's not going to be on a pitch count. He's going to be used as much as we need him to, but they kind of threw the backups in there a little bit last week. So
didn't get a red zone carry.
No. So that, as a fantasy owner of Todd Gurley, very frustrating. So I'm curious to see if that continues or not. But either way, very excited for these two offenses to match up together again. Even the defenses on both teams are going to be above average this year, so I'm excited. Give me the Saints in that game, though. Probably. Yeah, give me the Saints in that game. I'll stick with that initial reaction there.
I agree.
But then Monday Night Football, we have Cleveland at the New York Jets. Two young and upcoming franchises I'm excited to watch go head-to-head. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. Like we already mentioned, Browns coming out off of a very lackluster performance week 1. Time to see if the hype's real. If they go down 0-2, I think everybody's going to explode in terms of like sports media going after Cleveland. But the Jets having a lead on Buffalo, and then ultimately losing that lead, losing 17-16. Can the Jets bounce back, put some things together? The defense looked great. C.J. Mosley had a pick 6 in that game against Buffalo. Le'Veon Bell had some pretty good numbers as well. Not overwhelming numbers, but still played pretty well, especially pass catching as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how that matchup plays out Monday night. So
see if Odell's wearing his watch.
Yeah, see if Odell has the watch on, see if that helps him. Really didn't do anything for him. I think he had like 70 yards on like 6 catches. So, decent numbers, but not Odell-like numbers last week. So, we'll see if that changes this Monday night instead.
Yeah, when the Browns played the Jets last year, that was when Baker took over.
Yep,
so
I'll say that's when the first win, the beer cases were opened, and everybody started going crazy for Cleveland. So we'll see what happens this time around.
Might be a little bit meaningful for Baker Mayfield to come back and repeat.
Yeah,
against the Jets.
Try to make something happen. Shut out the doubters a little bit after that pretty bad performance last week. But yeah, I mean, that's where we'll leave it off. So highlighting some week 2 matchups. Very excited to get into another week of NFL football. Yeah, so that's where we'll leave it. So like we've mentioned in other episodes, we're going to be highlighting our joint power rankings every single week. So by the time this goes live, the updated rankings will be up as well. Check those out in the description. Let us know if you agree or disagree. Everything else Heated Sports will all be in the description as well. Our website, where we still have articles coming out multiple days a week, as well as our Twitter and Instagram accounts, where you can give those a follow and stay up to date on everything that's happening over here with us at Heated Sports. So again, I'm Justin. Got Kevin here across from me. Thanks for tuning into this episode, and we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for having us. See ya.